Hey folks, this is Scott with Birdsong Guitars and Wing Feather Workshop, Wimberley, Texas. And today I'm going to, as part of our 13th anniversary celebration here, I'm going to answer 13 questions culled out from questions submitted by you. So, I'm going to try and keep this moving along here. Need these. Okay, so right off the bat here, let's see. Number one, do you make regular run lefties? Well, we don't really do regular run stuff. It's all kind of custom, and the most I do is I try and slip in an inventory build or two, something unclaimed while I'm working on other small batches and individual instruments, and try and slide those into inventory before anybody finds out about them, and then they sell. Given that, I usually don't do lefties because it's such a small portion of folks that we build for, that the odds of me hitting something exactly like what you want to buy are very slim. And you're always settling for whatever happens to be available anyway. And I don't want you to have that experience with me and with Birdsong. So lefties are special order. So they just take some time to build, but there's no extra charge ever for lefty instruments. And we'll build just about anything we do left-handed for you. So, let's see. Number two. Can a swallow carry a coconut? Well, I'm not really sure about that, but my guess is that a gulp would. What? You don't know what a gulp is? Well, it's kind of like a swallow, only a little bigger. Alright. Number three, have you ever thought of making an acoustic guitar? I have ideas, but no, that's a whole different set of skills, tools, shop setup, and a kind of affinity for how it goes together. Recipe mind. I don't really have recipe mind for acoustic guitars the way I feel that I do for electric guitars and basses. I just more intimately aware of how the sound happens and sort of right down to a seasoning level, so I can kind of manipulate it a little better. But I don't feel that for acoustics. I love acoustic guitars, but I can just go grab a parlor-sized acoustic and start playing it, or an old Gibson or something like that, and I can pretty much get what I'm looking for. So there was never the quest that I had when I was playing electric guitars or electric basses, which were always kind of cool, but not exactly what I was looking for, and that kind of drove me to begin the process of figuring out what goes where and how to make this work with that and the other. So long answer, but nah, probably not going to happen. Number four, what's in the whatever shop? Well, in some pictures of me out in the workshop, you will see a little sign that says whatever shop with an arrow, a little handmade sign. It's hanging up on the wall, part of the mojo out there in the green shop where all the woodworking is done. Whatever was a small kind of organic cafe here in Wimberley, Texas, for a while, that through amazing things happening turned into an intentional community circle. And that intentional community circle was something where we all help each other with our projects out on our land and our homesteads and our dreams in life and things like that. We would all go help each other, community. What a concept these days. And it became that, and that is how these buildings came to be. It was through the hands of that intentional community circle. And once the cafe kind of dissolved and went away, we wound up with one of their signs, a couple of their signs actually. And so it goes on the wall as a wonderful memory of where we've been on the way here. Number five, other luthiers I like. Okay, other than friends, people I know like Jake Godey, Brady Muckleroy, that goes without saying. My big four my Mount Rushmore of influences as far as a designer and builder and things like that would be Paul Reed Smith, Bernie Rico, Doug Irwin, and Abe Rivera. And present people who are doing stuff that I really dig would be Ken Bebensey, does some amazing stuff, Darren Huff, Giselle Guitars, and last but certainly not least, or certainly not less, is Les Godfrey. I can't even describe. This guy is the greatest. He gets into some weird angular stuff that's not my bag, but when he starts carving curves and his sense of line and color and placement of feature and his carvings, it makes me excited to be in the same family of artisans as him. So check out Les Godfrey. Fantastic. 6. Who, in my opinion, is the most influential bassist of all time and modern era? Alright. I would say the most influential bassist of all time, my opinion, Paul McCartney. I've always been more of a Stones guy myself, but there are so many bands that traced, and we're talking influence now, we're not talking chops, we're talking influence. There are so many bands that traced their beginnings to somebody seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan in 1964 that inspired other bands, that inspired other bands, that inspired other bands, and it's almost like if you trace whatever you're listening to back, it winds up right there with some dude decades ago seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. So there's no question that they were one of the most profound things to happen to music as we know it, and he being a big part of that and holding down the bottom end on that, I would say there's that. As far as modern influence, you know, modern to me, it might be a different thing than what modern is to you. So I'm just going to say like post-Beatles, post-70s, up into like the 90s when things really changed again. And you had like Radiohead coming in, and you had these other bands that happened where nothing sounded like them before, but a whole lot had elements of their sound after it. It became part of the DNA of music. So looking at it from that perspective, which is how I have to look at it, I'm going to say either the guy from Tool, and I'm not sure, I know there have been 2 major bass players who played on all the early stuff, but I'm not sure where that dividing line was. So whoever was playing on the first 3 Tool records, or Tim from Rage Against the Machine. Because just influence-wise, not a whole lot sounded like they did, tone-wise, riff-wise, before them. And then afterwards, you kind of hear that strain in a whole lot. So, 7, the Birdsong World Map was brought up. Ben, I'm sorry, that was taken down when we moved the shop in 2008. It is in storage. It's not still marked, but it is in storage. I took a picture of it, and I'll post that up on the website, on the news page, just for you. There are many, many hundreds of instruments out at this point, and the idea of pinning them all on a map is kind of daunting. But I know I'm pretty sure we're in all 50 states. I know we're in everywhere from Hawaii to Bethel, Alaska, and I know we're in a bunch of countries around the world. So that's been a lot of fun. But no, the world map really doesn't exist anymore. It used to be on the wall of the original shop. Number 8, what is your favorite memory from your time with the Jerks? The Jerks was a band I played in many, many years ago with some really cool kids. You know, in the middle of a high school dance to Horrified Faces, we did a song that went, "Going downtown, gonna see my babe." And on the last line, the singer Ben rolled on stage and lifted his legs up and said, "Gonna sing her a song? Gonna show him a ding-dong." And that is my greatest memory of my time with the Jerks, was that and the reaction. It was priceless. That and Blocknuts mooning those girls at the talent show. I'll just leave it there. Let's see, number 9. How did I come up with the Birdsong name? When the days were hazy and the road was not clear, so long as the birds were singing, I knew there was hope. I knew I knew that it was worth hanging around for and see what would happen, see what I could make out of all of this in better times or in less challenging times. And you know, everybody has the little things that get them through. And hearing the birds sing was that for me at a few times in my life. So naturally, when it came time to name what I really felt going in was like a game time, was something that was going to carry me. I named it Birdsong, and I put it on me. And you know, music has always carried me, and sometimes it has had wings. Let's see. Number 10, is Maggie picky about pizza toppings, or does she pretty much like it all? Maggie is our blue healer, a real character. You'll see pictures of her, especially if you follow us on Facebook. You'll see pictures of Maggie in the shop and just being a little fuzzy person with a big nose, basically. We watch what she gets. Some toppings aren't dog friendly, and I usually like a plain cheese anyway. And honestly, she's all about the crust. Okay, number 11. My aha moment as far as communing with raw wood and combining that into the musical path. Okay, this one I'm going to have to read here. Wood combined with music for me with my old BC Rich. I had an old BC Rich when I was about 16, 17 years old. And at one point I ran my hand along the edge and it ceased to be an item or a name or a possession. It began to enlighten me that somebody carved this out of a piece of wood. Because it wasn't sloppy. I mean, it was A-grade work. But you could still feel that this was not plastic and it was not made by a machine. Somebody carved this out. And you could feel it was the real wood grain. And it started me thinking that, well, this was a tree somewhere. And then somebody carved this into a musical instrument. What about that, you know? It was like it was like hearing music for the first time when it ceases to be just this blob of tone, of sound coming at you, and you start hearing it in layers, and you go, wow, notes are moving different directions at the same time, and that one does this voice, and that one's tying in with that other instrument, which is doing a beat, and all, and I see how everything's phrased, and all this, you know, it just it unravels itself like an onion. And that moment was when the wood instrument connection really became something deep for me. Years and years and years later, I began working with the wood, and it was the years in my friend Uncle Johnny's shop and a deepening awakening within me, living in the woods, to the interconnectedness and vibration of everything, and my sensitivity to it, and how it kind of dovetailed in with everything that I already was, and kind of where I would go from there. And here we are. Number 12, how'd you come up with the high-five string-through idea? There are many debates about this, but not by anybody who actually has experience or has done it and can hear it. But if you take, let's say you take a Fender P bass that you could string through body or top load, and without changing anything, using the same strings, same gauges and everything, you string it top load, and you play it for a while, and you get into how it responds, and how it sustains, and what it does when you hit it certain ways, and its overall tonality, and its overall clarity, and things like that, resonance through the body, things like that. Just kind of get used to it as a voice. Then, cut them off, string it through the body, same strings, and play it. You haven't changed anything, but something has changed. You've strung it through the body. The saddles are feeling different pressure on them. The vibrating length of the string is the same, but the overall length of the string has changed slightly, and there's some physics that goes with that. And you know, you can debate why or how or if it happens or doesn't happen and all of that, but the fact is, it does. And I was looking to get more tension and more sonic tension, like the sound of a tighter string, whether or not the string actually got tighter or not. I was looking for that stuff out of my 5-string design because I was trying to get a B string to work on a 31-inch scale length. And so I thought, well, hell, if you go through the body once, it does that much. Can I put it through the body again and have it do that much again? No, but it'll do that much again. And so every little bit helping, you stack your variables, you stack your little percentages of improvement up, and you get noticeable improvement. That's the story of Birdsong, that's the story of the high five 5-string, and that's, you know, kind of like a personal quest. You know, you just betterment in percentages, and you just keep doing that and it adds up. And that's how I came up with that. And then it was just a matter of going through a few ways of making it work and making it not really difficult to craft consistently. So that was how that happened. Number 13. Which would you like the most and why? Visually, walnut. This is what my brain pictures when I think of the word wood. I love walnut visually. It's beautiful to work with. It always holds surprises until you get that first coat of oil on it, and then it reveals itself. Beautiful, beautiful wood. Tonally, mahogany. Mahogany is just wonderful. It has a particular mid-range voice that I like, that seems to be there in all mahogany, no matter of its density. While with denser pieces of mahogany, you get a little bit more fundamental down low and a little bit more brightness up high, as you would with a denser wood. But you retain that mid-range speaking voice that just happened to be something that I look for in everything I build, whether it's an electric jazz guitar or a bass or a lap steel or something like that. And mahogany is one way to get that ingredient in there. So I love mahogany. As far as meaning goes, my favorite wood meaning-wise is Wimberley flood cypress. We had a flood come through Wimberley in 2015, and I made myself a few instruments out of a board that I got from somebody that was once a part of beautiful hundreds and hundreds of years old cypress trees that were all down by the river, many of which are gone now. So this is one I made for myself, and this is a lap steel that I'm working on for myself. And I made a few client instruments out of it as well. So my thoughts on that: I can't fix or replace what was broken or lost, but I can take this one piece and symbolically, on behalf of all trauma and lost life, help it to sing and fill the world with beauty and the healing power of music. That's why I do what I do. So there's that. A little bonus question: what is the farthest flown instrument to my knowledge? I know we have some in Australia. I know we have some in New Zealand, right down there, and believe me, that's like a moonshot. Especially if you price it with FedEx. You know, you'd think you were shipping a car to the moon, but it's far away, and there's a little lake between us, and so that's pretty far, New Zealand, and then I know one went to India. So with that, this concludes our 13 questions. Submit more questions to me. Maybe we'll do another one of these. Scott@birdsongguitars.com. Find Scott Beckwith on Facebook. Friend him/me. Find Birdsong Guitars on Facebook. Click like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. And info@birdsongguitars.com. www.birdsongguitars.com, or call me anytime. Just don't text me because I don't get texts. 512-395-5126. Thanks a bunch. Have a great day.